All right, let's talk about one of the biggest shakeups in digital security we've ever seen. We're talking about the move to post-quantum cryptography. And really, this isn't just some minor update. It's more like we're rebuilding the very foundations of trust for the entire digital world. So yeah, let's get right into it.
So just think about this for a second. What actually happens when RSA 2048, the kind of encryption that protects basically everything, your bank, government secrets, you name it, can be broken in just a few hours? All of our current security is built on math problems that are just impossible for today's computers. But what if a totally new kind of computer shows up and just solves them, like it's nothing?
And this right here, this shows you just how massive the threat really is. We are not talking about a small improvement. We're talking about a complete game changer. You see, thanks to something called Shor's algorithm, a book-enough quantum computer could crack a standard RSA 2048 key in maybe 8 hours? For comparison, our best classical supercomputers would need millions of years to do the same thing. It's an insane leap, and it basically pulverizes the foundation of all the public key crypto we use today.
Okay, so here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll look at the quantum threat itself. Then we'll get into the weeds of Crystal's Kyber, which is the new standard for key exchange. After that, we'll check out the signature schemes in the running, including a really interesting hash-based one. And we'll wrap up by talking about what it actually takes to make this all happen in the real world.
All right, Section 1, the quantum countdown. Let's talk about why we need to act now. The most important thing to get here is that this whole migration, it has to kick off way before a scary quantum computer is even built. Seriously, the clock is ticking.
So the main reason we're even having this conversation is an algorithm called Shor's. And look, it doesn't just weaken our current security, it's more like a silver bullet. It completely takes out the asymmetric algorithms that our entire public key infrastructure is built on. We're talking RSA, ECC, Diffie-Hellman, poof, gone.
And that brings us to a really scary idea, the harvest now, decrypt later attack. Think about it. An attacker doesn't need a quantum computer right now. All they have to do is record all of our encrypted traffic today and just store it. They can sit on terabytes of sensitive data for years, just waiting for that quantum machine to fire up. Then they can go back and decrypt everything. So the data you think is safe today, it might be wide open in the future.
Okay, time for a deep dive. We're going to zoom right into Crystal's Kyber, which, by the way, is now officially standardized as MLChem. This is where we see the big shift away from things like factorization and into the world of lattice-based crypto.
So the magic behind Kyber, and also dilithium, its signature sibling, is a math problem called modular learning with errors, or module LWE. The easiest way to think about it is like this. You've got a secret, S, you hide it by multiplying it by a public matrix, A, but then you add a little bit of random noise, E, on top. The result, T, is your public key. The whole security of the system rests on the idea that finding that original secret S inside all that noise is just incredibly hard. For anyone, even a quantum computer. And this design choice is really clever. Module LWE is kind of like the Goldilocks solution. It has more structure than the basic learning with errors problem, which is what makes it so fast and efficient, but it has less structure than something like ring LWE, which some other algorithms used. And that's a good thing. It means there's less mathematical structure for an attacker to potentially exploit. It really hits that sweet spot between great performance and solid security. All right, let's pull back from the math for a second. While MLChem is pretty much the chosen one for key exchange, digital signatures are a different story. It's a lot messier. MIST actually picked 3 different algorithms here, basically admitting that there's no one-size-fits-all answer. It all comes down to trade-offs. And you can see those trade-offs right here. First up, you've got dilithium, or MLDSA. Think of it as the reliable workhorse. It's got balanced performance, and it's pretty straightforward to implement. Then there's Falcon. Falcon is all about size. It produces these tiny signatures, which is amazing if you're worried about bandwidth. But as we'll see, that comes with some headaches. And finally, you have Sphinx Plus. It's the total outlier. Its signatures are gigantic, and it's slow, but its security is based on something completely different.
Yeah, and this quote from a cryptoform really nails the problem with Falcon. For all its small signature glory, it is an absolute beast to implement correctly. The math inside involves floating point numbers, and that makes it super hard to write code that's constant time, meaning it always takes the same amount of time to run no matter the secret data. If it's not constant time, an attacker can literally time your operations to leak your secret key. It's a huge side channel risk, and with Falcon, it's a massive unsolved problem for implementers.
So let's talk about SPHINCS for a minute, because this one is really important. It's completely different from the others. It doesn't use any of that fancy lattice math. Nope. Its security is built on something we've known and trusted for decades, good old-fashioned hash functions. You should really think of SPHCS Plus as our ultimate backup plan, our insurance policy. If some genius cryptographer tomorrow finds a way to break all lattice-based crypto, well, SPHCS Plus would still be standing strong. Its security is super conservative. The big trade-off, of course, is that it's huge and slow. The signatures are just enormous, so you wouldn't use it for every web transaction, but for things where trust is everything and speed doesn't matter as much, like, say, signing root certificates or firmware updates, it's perfect. Okay, enough theory. Let's talk about where the rubber meets the road, deployment. How in the world do we actually get the entire internet to switch over to these new standards? It's a massive, massive engineering job. Now, you'd probably guess that these new post-quantum algorithms would be way slower, right? Well, take a look at this. This is mind-blowing. In terms of raw operations per second, MLChem, Kyber, is actually faster than X25519, which is one of our go-to classical algorithms. That is a massive win. It means for key exchange, we can get quantum resistance without a performance penalty. In fact, we might even get a speed boost. But what about in a real-world protocol like TLS that you use every single time you browse the web? Well, this chart shows the slowdown when you use hybrid signatures. And yeah, there's a performance hit. You can see that using a combo with dilithium is about 4 times slower than just using the classic algorithm alone, so it's not free. But for most websites and applications, that's a cost that is totally manageable for this level of future-proof security. So how do we roll this out without breaking everything or taking a huge risk? The answer is hybrid schemes. It's pretty simple, actually. When you're setting up a secure connection, you do both. You do a classical key exchange, like X25519, and you do a post-quantum one, like Kyber. Then you mix the results together. This is brilliant, because now an attacker has to break both algorithms to get in. It protects you from today's attackers and tomorrow's quantum attackers. It's the perfect bridge to get us to the future. So if you're sitting there in your organization thinking, okay, where do we even begin? This is your playbook. Seriously, step 1 is just figuring out what crypto you're using and where it is. Just doing that, making a crypto inventory, is a huge win. Once you know what you have, you can figure out what's most at risk from that harvest now, decrypt later attack, start deploying these hybrid schemes, and this is the big one, start building for something called crypto agility. You want your systems to be able to swap out algorithms easily down the road. And that really brings us to the final, most important takeaway. This whole post-quantum migration, it isn't just a one-time upgrade. It's really the start of a completely new era in security. The biggest lesson the quantum threat has taught us is that we can't afford to bake our crypto choices into our systems anymore. The future isn't about finding one perfect algorithm. It's about building for permanent cryptographic agility. It's about being ready for the next threat, whatever that turns out to be, without having to tear everything down and start over.